Well, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You made it another year down, and this one, 2024, was something else, wasn't it?
It really was.
We're closing out the year with a quick trio of stories, just a glimpse into some of the wild things that happened.
Yeah, a little end-of-year sampler platter.
Exactly, and it's like the universe decided to turn up the dial on the bizarre meter this year.
Oh, for sure. You couldn't make this stuff up.
So we're going to start with a case out of Mesa, Arizona,
Okay.
involving a guy named Charles Smith,
All right.
who got himself arrested for shall we say, unconventional form of grocery shopping.
Unconventional is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
wasn't your typical, shoplifting case or even just a prank. This guy was caught on camera spraying actual bug spray.
Like Raid.
Yeah, on produce at a Walmart.
And he wasn't exactly trying to be discreet about it either.
No, not at all.
The sources mentioned he was filming the whole thing for social media,
Of course.
even boasting about being a troll who makes $10,000 a month from these kinds of stunts.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating to me is that detail. What kind of content is generating that kind of income, and what does that say about the audience consuming it?
The police reports we have highlight that in the time between Smith spraying the produce and quote-unquote cleaning up shoppers, could have unknowingly purchased contaminated items.
Right, and that's not just a harmless prank anymore. That's reckless endangerment.
Right. All right, let's shift gears now and head down to Florida for our next story, where a seemingly routine pizza delivery took a shocking and violent turn. We have a couple celebrating a birthday with the woman's 5-year-old daughter at a motel room in Kissimmee.
Okay.
They order a pizza, and when the delivery driver, Brianna Alvelo, arrives, she doesn't have change for a $50 bill. The customer ends up giving her a $2 tip on a $33 order.
Yeah.
Seems pretty normal, right?
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't been in that situation? You don't have the right change.
Right.
But what happened next turns this very ordinary scenario into something much darker and more complex.
So what happened?
Later that night, 2 masked individuals forced their way into the motel room. The woman is brutally stabbed 14 times while trying to protect her daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine the terror and chaos of that moment, especially with the child present.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Alvelo was arrested and charged with attempted murder, home invasion, kidnapping, and aggravated assault. Prosecutors are seeking to hold her without bond due to the severity of the crime.
14 stab wounds over a $2 tip.
It's hard to comprehend, isn't it?
I'm honestly struggling to wrap my head around that level of rage and violence. Okay, ready to head to Texas for our final story.
Lead the way. This one is a real head-scratcher involving jealousy, competition, and a tragic end for an unsuspecting farm animal.
All right, buckle up, everyone, because this one's a doozy. We're talking about Aubrey Vanlandingham, a high school cheerleader in Texas who's facing some serious charges, and the victim in this case, a show goat named Willie.
This isn't just any goat, mind you. Willie was a prize-winning show goat, the pride and joy of a 15-year-old girl who was also a competitor in the local agricultural circuit. Well, according to the sources, Vanlandingham was not only a cheerleader, but also the president of her school's Future Farmers of America chapter.
Okay, so she wasn't a complete outsider.
Right.
But what drove her to, allegedly poison the goat?
Well, that's the question that has everyone baffled. The security footage from the high school barn shows Vanlandingham force-feeding Willie a toxic pesticide using a drench gun, a tool used to administer liquid medication to animals.
Why, she literally force-fed a goat poison? That's just awful.
It is, and the footage shows Willie desperately trying to escape. Sadly, a necropsy later confirmed that the cause of death was organophosphate intoxication.
I'm not familiar with that term. Can you explain what that means for those of us who aren't veterinarians?
Sure. Organophosphate intoxication essentially means Willie died from poisoning by a type of pesticide that affects the nervous system. It can cause severe symptoms like convulsions, respiratory distress, and ultimately death. A very cruel way to go.
That's just heartbreaking. So what was Vanlandingham's motive? Did she have some kind of personal grudge against Willie's owner?
That's where things get even more confusing, according to police reports. Vanlandingham claims she poisoned Willie because she believed the owner's daughter was a cheater.
Cheating at a goat show? How do you even cheat at a goat show?
That's a good question, and unfortunately the sources don't provide any specifics about the nature of the alleged cheating. However, Willie's owner suggests that jealousy was the real motive, speculating that Vanlandingham might have felt threatened by her daughter's success in the competition.
So we've got a high school cheerleader who's also a Future Farmers of America president accused of poisoning a rival's goat out of jealousy. 2024 is just wild, isn't it? I feel like we need a whiteboard and some red string just to keep track of all these twists and turns. What are the potential consequences she's facing?
In Texas, cruelty to livestock animals is a felony. Vanlandingham is facing up to 2 years in prison if convicted, and she's currently banned from attending school while the case is pending.
So potentially jail time, expulsion from school, and a criminal record. That's a lot to grapple with, especially at such a young age.
It's a harsh reality check, isn't it? It highlights the fact that actions have consequences even in the heat of competition, and sometimes those consequences can be life-altering.
Well, that's 3 wild stories to wrap up 2024.
It's been a year, hasn't it?
A year that has tested our sanity, our patience, and our ability to make sense of the world around us.
No kidding.
I think we all deserve a medal for surviving 2024.
Maybe a trophy.
But before we officially bid farewell to this whirlwind of a year, I wanted to get your thoughts on something we've talked about: a pesticide-wielding troll, a pizza delivery turned violent, and a poison show goat. 3 seemingly unrelated events, yet they all share this common thread of unexpected and unsettling behavior. What do you think this says about the state of our society?
It does seem like we're living in increasingly volatile times where the boundaries of acceptable behavior are being tested and the consequences can be severe. It makes you wonder what's driving this trend. Is it the pressure of social media, the anonymity of the internet, or something deeper within our collective psyche?
Those are some heavy questions to ponder as we head into the new year.
Right, but maybe grappling with these questions is part of the process of moving forward. You know, we need to understand the forces at play, the motivations, the consequences, if we hope to create a better future.
I agree. And maybe, just maybe, by examining these stories, by having these conversations, we can start to make sense of the chaos and find some glimmers of hope in the darkness.
I like a glimmer of hope. That's something we can all hold on to as we say goodbye to 2024 and welcome whatever 2025 has in store for us.
Yeah, well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive before we go. So I want to wish you a very happy and hopefully less chaotic new year. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through 2024.
Happy New Year.